Listen, dear listener, and gather round as I weave you a tale of beauty, betrayal, ambition, and the bitter taste of regret. A tale so vast and winding that its echoes linger long after the final word is spoken. Allow me to take you on a journey through glittering lights and shadowed alleys, into a world where passion and deception dance dangerously close, and where the fragile line between love and ambition can shatter dreams in an instant. Our story begins in a city of contrasts, a place where the gleam of high-end fashion collides with the grit of everyday struggle. In this city lived a woman named Isabel, a dazzling model whose beauty was renowned and whose smile could light up the most desolate room. Isabel was not merely a face on magazine covers or the center of every camera's focus. She was a woman of ambition, of desire, and of secret yearnings that defied the expectations of a glamorous life. Yet beneath the shimmering surface of her career, there lay a tumultuous story, a story of a love that had once promised hope, but which had been betrayed by the lure of wealth and status. Isabel had once been married to Alexander, a kind and visionary man whose gentle nature and unwavering integrity had captivated her heart in a time when dreams were as plentiful as the stars. Alexander was a man of humble beginnings, the sort of man who built his dreams brick by brick and who carried the weight of responsibility with quiet dignity. He had founded a company from scratch, a company that, over the years, had grown into a modest but promising enterprise. To Alexander, every dollar earned was a testament to hard work and sacrifice. Every late night and early morning a declaration of his commitment to a future built on perseverance rather than privilege. In those halcyon days of their early love, Isabel and Alexander had built a world that was tender and genuine. Their love was a quiet symphony played out against the backdrop of everyday miracles. The aroma of fresh bread in a small bakery, the soft hum of city streets at dawn, and the gentle rustle of pages in a favorite book. Alexander's eyes had shone with hope when he spoke of dreams yet unfulfilled, and Isabel, in turn, had felt a deep and abiding love that transcended the superficial trappings of the world around her. But as time went on, as the glare of the spotlight grew ever brighter and the demands of her modeling career expanded, Isabel began to feel the subtle pull of a different life, a life where luxury, opulence, and the allure of wealth beckoned like a forbidden fruit. It was during one of those dazzling nights at an exclusive party, where the clink of champagne glasses harmonized with the soft murmur of influential voices, that Isabel first encountered the promise of a new path. In that glittering haze, she met men whose wealth was as intoxicating as their charm, men who spoke of fortunes amassed and futures secured by the power of money. The more she listened, the more the seeds of temptation took root in her heart. With every whispered conversation about luxury vacations, private jets, and designer wardrobes, a subtle shift occurred within Isabel. The modest, loving world she had once known began to pale in comparison to the seductive world of abundance that these men offered. A world where every desire could be fulfilled with a swipe of a credit card, where status and glamour replaced the quiet joy of simple love. And so, slowly, insidiously, Isabel strayed. The gentle cadence of her marriage to Alexander gave way to the cacophony of clandestine meetings and whispered promises made under starlit skies. She began to flirt with danger, embracing the thrill of living on the edge of respectability as she sought the attention of rich benefactors. Each new encounter was a heady rush, a blend of excitement, vanity, and the intoxicating belief that she was destined for something grander than the life she had known. The lavish dinners, the exotic getaways, and the shimmering trappings of wealth slowly lured her further away from the man who had once been her anchor. Alexander, ever patient and trusting, failed to see the darkening storm until the signs became too stark to ignore. It began with subtle changes, a delay in returning his calls, an unexplained absence on weekends, a newfound preoccupation with glamorous events that Alexander was never invited to attend. At first, Alexander chose to believe that Isabel's heart was still true, that the allure of wealth was but a passing fancy. He clung to the memories of their simpler times, the laughter shared over home-cooked meals, and the quiet evenings spent dreaming of a future built together. But as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the truth could no longer be hidden. Isabel's infidelities, like fractures in a once solid foundation, began to show. The whispers of scandal grew louder with each passing day, and soon the glittering world she had entered began to reveal its darker underbelly. A world where loyalty was traded for gold and promises were as fickle as the wind. As Isabel's new life unfolded, Alexander's company, once a symbol of hope and hard-earned success, began to suffer. The challenges of an increasingly competitive market, compounded by the mismanagement of funds and the unexpected downturn of the economy, led to a gradual unraveling of the business he had built with such care. Alexander found himself in a perilous position, struggling to keep his company afloat as the financial winds shifted against him. The same dream he had nurtured with endless hope now threatened to vanish like smoke in the wind. It was as if the universe, in its infinite irony, was punishing him for a betrayal he had never truly expected from the woman he loved. One fateful morning, as the city awoke under a somber gray sky, Alexander received the news he had dreaded. His company was on the brink of collapse. The carefully constructed empire that had once promised a better future was crumbling, and with it went the life he had built. The weight of this disaster was immense, a blow not only to his pride, but also to the very foundation of his dreams. In the quiet of that despairing moment, Alexander's thoughts turned inevitably to Isabel. Had she been aware of his struggles? Had her wandering eyes ever seen the toll that his relentless pursuit of success had taken on him? Or had she long ago abandoned him in favor of a world that valued superficial allure over genuine love? For Isabel, the taste of luxury had been intoxicating, but it was never as sweet as she had imagined. The rich men who had once lavished her with gifts and grand promises turned out to be as fleeting as the mirages of a desert, temporary distractions that evaporated under the harsh light of reality. One by one, the men who had once promised her a world of endless possibilities revealed themselves to be hollow figures, incapable of offering the true security and affection she had once taken for granted. As the glittering facade of wealth began to crumble around her, Isabel found herself increasingly isolated, her reputation tarnished, and her heart filled with regret. The once shimmering promise of a glamorous life had degenerated into a nightmare of loneliness and despair, and the stark realization of her mistakes hit her like a tidal wave. It was then, in the cold aftermath of her choices, that the depths of her regret began to awaken. The lavish parties, the extravagant gifts, and the sweet, empty words of those rich men now felt like bitter reminders of everything she had lost. With each passing day, the walls of her new world closed in around her, and the glitter of false promises faded into an unbearable darkness. Isabel's eyes, once bright with the confidence of youth and beauty, now shone with the tears of remorse and the heavy burden of regret. The world she had so eagerly embraced turned its back on her, leaving her stranded in a sea of sorrow and self-reproach. In the midst of this overwhelming despair, Isabel made a desperate decision, a choice born not of pride, but of the sheer need to reclaim something of her former self. In a moment of clarity, she resolved to return to the one person who had once truly loved her, Alexander, her ex-husband, the man whose kindness and unwavering devotion had once filled her life with hope. But fate, it seemed, was not so kind. Alexander, now shattered by the collapse of his company and the relentless weight of betrayal, had built walls around his heart, walls too high for even the most desperate plea for forgiveness to breach. His days had become a quiet struggle for survival, a battle against the creeping despair that threatened to consume him, a battle fought in the silence of empty offices and the cold glow of failing finances. When Isabel finally gathered the courage to seek him out, her heart pounded with the weight of regret and longing. She embarked on a journey back to the past, hoping to find in Alexander the warmth and solace that had once been the bedrock of their love. Yet as she approached him, she discovered that relentless thief had already taken its toll. Alexander, once the man who had seen the beauty in every moment, now moved through life with the slow, measured steps of someone whose spirit had been broken. The brilliant light of his eyes had dimmed, replaced by a weariness that spoke of dreams lost and battles fought in silence. In their final meeting, beneath the flickering neon lights of a quiet cafe on the outskirts of the city, Isabel laid bare the sorrow of her heart. Her voice trembled as she recounted the empty promises, the false lights of wealth, and the painful realization that the true treasure she had discarded was the love of the man who had never wavered in his devotion. She pleaded for forgiveness, for a second chance, for the opportunity to rebuild what had been lost. But Alexander, whose heart had been scarred by betrayal and whose trust had been shattered beyond repair, could only offer a sorrowful, distant look, a look that conveyed the message that some wounds, once inflicted, could never be healed. The conversation between them was a fragile dance of regret and resignation. Alexander's words, sparse and measured, spoke of a life turned upside down, a life where trust had been betrayed and where the weight of shattered dreams was too heavy to bear. He recalled the days when love had been simple and pure, when the future was bright with promise, and when every shared smile was a testament to the strength of their bond. But those days, like the fading echoes of a long-forgotten song, had slipped irrevocably away. The man before him was a stranger, a ghost of the man she once knew, and no amount of apologies could restore what had been so carelessly cast aside. As the night deepened and the city fell silent, Isabel left the cafe with a heart that was as heavy as the darkness surrounding her. The streets, once vibrant with possibility, now seemed to mock her with every step, a cruel reminder that the consequences of her choices were irrevocable and that time, once lost, could never be regained. She wandered through the empty avenues, the cool night air whispering secrets of regret and solitude, until at last she found herself standing before the dilapidated gates of the home she had once shared with Alexander. There, in the quiet solitude of that place filled with memories, she realized that her journey had led her to a truth too painful to bear, that forgiveness was a gift not freely given to those who had betrayed it, and that the road back to love, once broken, is one paved with unbearable sorrow. And so, dear listener, as we draw near to the close of this bittersweet tale, let us pause and reflect on the myriad twists of fate that have brought us to this moment. Isabel's story is one of stark contrasts, the dazzling highs of beauty and ambition, and the crushing lows of betrayal and regret. It is a story that reminds us that in the pursuit of fleeting pleasures and the allure of wealth, we may forsake the very things that matter most. The seductive glow of a glamorous life may promise endless delight, yet it can also lead us down a path from which there is no return, a path where the heart's true desires are left to wither in the shadows of lost time. In the aftermath of her choices, as Isabel stands alone with her shattered dreams and the haunting echo of what might have been, we are left to ponder the cruel nature of fate and the inexorable passage of time. Love, once a beacon of hope, can become a distant memory when marred by deceit and self-interest. The echoes of missed opportunities reverberate through the corridors of our souls, reminding us that every decision we make carries with it the potential for both greatness and ruin. Alexander, too, is left to navigate a life stripped of the joy that once defined him, a life in which the glimmer of hope is forever dimmed by the relentless march of disappointment and the scars of betrayal. The collapse of his company, the crumbling of his dreams, and the loss of a love that once burned so brightly serve as a stark reminder that the price of trust, once broken, is far greater than any monetary loss. In the silent spaces between heartbeats and the quiet moments of reflection, we witness a man who has learned that some wounds may never heal, that some losses may never be reclaimed, and that the echoes of a once beautiful past can haunt us long after the final curtain falls. Yet, even in this sea of despair, there lingers a fragile thread of hope, a hope that perhaps, in time, the wounds of betrayal may begin to mend, and that the lessons of a painful past might one day lead to a wiser, more compassionate future. For in every story of loss, there is also the potential for redemption, a possibility that the human heart, battered though it may be, can learn to forgive and, in doing so, rediscover the beauty that lies hidden beneath the scars of yesterday. And so, as our tale reaches its inexorable end, let us remember that every life is a tapestry of light and shadow, of moments both joyous and sorrowful. Isabel's journey, a journey marked by the dazzling brilliance of ambition and the crushing weight of regret, serves as a timeless reminder that the choices we make define not only our destinies, but also the very essence of who we are. In the quiet aftermath of her painful odyssey, as the city lights flicker like distant stars on the horizon, we are left to wonder, can the heart ever truly find its way back from the precipice of betrayal? Or are some bridges, once burned, destined to remain forever lost in the annals of time? Dear listener, as you carry this tale with you into the silent recesses of your own thoughts, may you find within it the courage to cherish the bonds that uplift you and the wisdom to recognize the fleeting nature of empty promises. For in a world where beauty and ambition often blur the lines between right and wrong, it is the quiet strength of a true heart that remains the ultimate testament to the enduring power of love and redemption. Thus ends our story, a story that is as timeless as it is transient, as heartbreaking as it is hopeful. Let it serve as a beacon to all who have ever strayed from the path of genuine love, a reminder that the allure of superficial splendor can never replace the warmth of a love built on trust and sacrifice. And though Isabel's plea for forgiveness went unheeded, her journey remains etched in the tapestry of our collective memory, a poignant testament to the bittersweet nature of life, where every moment of brilliance is often shadowed by the weight of regret. May you, dear listener, take these words to heart as you navigate the winding roads of your own existence. Remember that every decision, every fleeting moment of weakness, and every act of betrayal comes at a cost, and that the path to redemption, though treacherous and fraught with peril, is one that may yet lead to a future where love, once lost, can be found again in the gentle light of a new dawn.